Hello, everybody. Do the remix. No, I'm kidding. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Differently Wired Show. Differently Wired podcast, Differently Wired Show, all the same thing. I'm your host, as always, your friendly neighborhood Simpsons kid, Maximilian Danger Darrett. I am so tired today, but it's okay. I gain my sustenance from all you beautiful people, and we're going to power through. We're going to be talking about how to disclose your diagnosis today. This is one that was recommended by a member of our Discord. Forgive me, I cannot remember your name at this time. If you did suggest it, feel free to DM me during the show. But before we get into the main topic and all the other good stuff, I, of course, have to introduce I was about to say my guest. No, my co-host. Forgive me, John. He is...
I do.
PhD. You know that song by In Vogue called What a Man? That song was written about him. He was the inspiration for that song. He is John Tucker. John, quick question. Have I ever told you where our theme music comes from?
No.
No? It's have I talked to you about something called Silent Hill?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay, yeah. It's from one of my all-time favorite video game series called Silent Hill. It's a horror game. And one of the things that I love so much about that series is the music. And our song comes from Silent Hill 3, and it's a very chill song. You know, it's something that you can just sort of lose, all your thoughts to and just let it consume you. And that's part of the reason why I chose it for the show. Yeah, and also I bring this up because, please indulge me for a second, John. The PlayStation 5 is getting revealed tomorrow, and who knows? I know it's a pipe dream, but...
They're still making PlayStations?
Oh, yeah, totally. The PS5 is going to be revealed tomorrow, and that's going to be coming out at the end of the year. What I'm hoping, even though it's about as likely as Half-Life 3 and it ever going to happen anytime in the near future. Wait, no. Actually, that does seem like it's going to happen soon because of Half-Life Alyx. But anyways, God, I hope they announce something in regards to Silent Hill tomorrow. Hopefully they reboot it. Because there have been so many rumors. I just want them to be confirmed. I hope the reason why they haven't said anything is because they've been waiting for the reveal tomorrow. Thank you for indulging me on that. Let's get to the stuff that this show is all about. And yes, down in a hole, Silent 2 is the GOAT. Anyways... before we get into the main topic, it's been a little bit since we've done the usual house cleaning stuff. I know it's sort of boring for the people that listen to the show a lot, but we do have to do it. It's just so we can help grow the community. There are people that benefit from this, trust me. First of all, there is an audio version of the show available. If you want to listen to us on the go while you're exercising, clipping your toenails, but don't tell us about that. If you do, just feel free to download us. We're available wherever you get your podcasts, be it Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify. We're on all the platforms. If there isn't a platform that we're available on and you like us to apply there, please let us know. We want to spread the good word of how important it is to be mentally healthy and to accept yourself. Also, where's my Facebook graphic? Did I delete it by accident? Because it's not showing up. Anyways, yeah, it looks like I did. We do have a Facebook page. If you use Facebook still, there's a link to our Facebook page in the description box below. Feel free to give us a like there. Help boost our ego. Discord server. John, we're almost at 1,500 members.
Holy cats in pajamas.
Yeah. What? What did you just say?
I said a very kind swear word.
Did you say holy tots in pajamas?
Cats.
Oh, cats in pajamas. Yeah, cats don't like pajamas. Then again, cats don't like anything. But that's why I'm a dog person. No, I'm kidding. I don't have a cat because I'm allergic to them. But yeah, Discord. Guys, if you'd like to join up with other like-minded people, differently wired people, talk to people that might have gone through the same situations that you've gone through in your life and not be judged for them, feel free to join the Discord server. There's a link to it in the description box below. And also, one of the benefits that you get for joining the Discord server is I do not have that graphic either. What the heck is going on? You know what? Here, I'll just bring up the Discord server using the display capture. Okay, here we go. So, do you like my Red Dead Redemption 2 background here, everybody? Isn't that nice? Here we go. So, if you go to my Discord server, and you look on the right side right here, you'll see a whole bunch of people's names who are highlighted in green. These are the members of the support squadron. If you have anything on your mind that you'd like to just get off your chest, if you've been feeling depressed or you're feeling down, just need somebody to talk to, these people are available to you. And you can determine who is the best person for you to talk to based on their personality by clicking on this text chat right here. You can look at all their bios, right? They're all right there. So if you do need somebody to talk to, that they're there for you. Although if you are like in sort of a crisis situation or an emergency, let me just tell you right now, these people are not here to help you with that. The first thing they should do, of course, is go and call a crisis line or go to the hospital. And if you need a list of crisis numbers, we do have a list of them right here. Okay, and I think that is about it. Oh, we do have an after show today. That's one of the benefits that you get for supporting me on Subscribestar. Where are all my graphics gone? I need to update this. But yeah, if you guys want to support me on Subscribestar, it's sort of like Patreon, except without all the unethical business practices. There's a link to the Subscribestar in the description box below. If you do support me on there, you get access to certain rewards. If you support me at $2 a month, you get access to the after show. So basically what that is after this particular show is done, we go into the after show chat, which you will only see pop up if I give you the star supporter role. Don't worry, it's not complicated. All you have to do is support me on that website, and I'll take care of all the other technical details for you. And then we can hang out for an hour after the show is done. Talk about whatever's on your mind. Okay. Oh, John, almost forgot about something. We also said before the show that we sort of wanted to open things up to people today, just to sort of switch things up a bit. So do you sort of want to explain to people what Zoom is in case they don't know, and then I'll go into the technical stuff?
Yes, anybody who wants to call in to the show can simply open up Zoom. If you don't have Zoom, it doesn't matter. You just open it up, and you'll get a link to join it, and it's free. There, Max will give you the credentials somewhere or another. Well, where there's a meeting ID. Oh, go ahead, Max.
Yeah, here's what we'll do, guys. So if you want to actually join at any time over the next just under an hour, all you have to do is go into the description box below right here. Right, you see this right here? Copy this meeting ID. Right? Perfect. And then go to join a meeting on the main website, which is zoom.us/join. Then you put in the meeting ID and then click join. And then after that happens, another thing will pop up asking for the password. Copy the password and then put it in where the password says you need to put in the password. And then you will join the call that John and I are in right now. And you can talk to us about whatever's on your mind, just as long as it has to do with something regarding being differently wired. If you have any questions or concerns, make sure just to ask anybody in the chat. I'm sure there are a couple people there that have used Zoom before, and they'll help you out. Okay. Is that all?
One thing that I should mention, when you go to join the meeting, you'll show up in a waiting room. And then we'll click, when there's a gap, we'll click so that you can join the meeting. Chances are we will probably talk to one person at a time, but it might be possible two people, which I don't know, we'll see. But because of the nature of this question, how to disclose your diagnosis, it's very particular. So it's a very good topic for individuals to call in and say, this is my situation. What should I do in this situation? Because there are a lot of varieties of situations. So you're most welcome to join us and have an open chat.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why we wanted to open things up today. Hopefully it'll work. Hopefully now that we're using Zoom, we won't have as many technical difficulties back in the day when we did this, when we used Discord. Anyways, so how to disclose your diagnosis. I did say it was from somebody in the Discord server, yes. I thought this was a good one because oftentimes I've had people come to me and try to say, hey, how can I convince so-and-so in my life that I actually have what I have and I'm not trying to be manipulative with it. I have a couple of suggestions in regards to that, methods that have worked for me. Maybe you could try applying them to your own life. Obviously, like John said, everybody's situation is different, so maybe my methods won't work. But that's why we're encouraging other people to come on the show and talk in the chat. Maybe offer your own suggestions as to what has worked for you, and that way we can all help each other out. But before I get into what my suggestions are, John, I sort of just wanted to ask you. You've advocated for your clients to their parents or their employers in the past. You certainly helped me with that. I want to ask, well, before you address how you do it, I sort of just wanted to ask, why is it that people who are differently wired come up against such resilience whenever they try to appeal to their friends, their peers, and their employers and stuff like that?
You mean resistance or resilience?
Oh, sorry, resistance. Did I say resilience?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Interesting Freudian slip. Resilience. Yeah, resilience is something that neurotypicals came to rely on, and it's harder for differently wired folk. But you said something in your earlier spiel that caught my attention. You mentioned the phrase "to accept yourself." That is tricky when you're differently wired. There are a lot of factors that make you feel worried about the way you present to the world. Maybe you can't look up. Maybe you talk too fast. Maybe you talk too slow. Maybe you are kind of concerned about talking at all. And you say, well, really, what kind of a person am I? So you'll go through a period, sometimes a long time, of having trouble accepting yourself. That is a big piece of telling your employer or your teacher or your professor what's going on in your life. I'm particularly interested in the case of people who will not ask for accommodations, refuse to ask for accommodations because they don't want to reveal a diagnosis. This happens in high schools. This happens in colleges and universities where somebody will say to you, oh, just go to the student center and tell them you got this and that and something else, and they'll give you this and give it. No, I don't want to go. And so the other person will say, well, you really should go. All this support and accommodation, and it's all legal and you can have it. No, I don't want to be marked. I don't want to be stigmatized. So we have to respect when somebody of our number says, I don't want to disclose, because somehow psychologically that can be an issue. It can drive their emotions wild. So in some cases, you're not ready to disclose anything to anybody. And if you don't have to, you probably shouldn't. So there's a lot of factors, even before you start.
Yeah, you're right, John. There are certain circumstances where you shouldn't feel pressured to reveal your diagnosis. It doesn't have to be the main part of your identity. And I actually will address that in a second. But I also wanted to address another thing you said. Sometimes it's true. We just don't want to confront that aspect of ourselves or give it legitimacy because it already causes us too much stress. And if we do give it more legitimacy, it might make us stand out from the rest of the crowd, when really all differently wired people want to be is more invisible, just be able to blend in with everybody else. Like I had an example I wanted to use. Hopefully it'll come back to me. But anyways, there are circumstances where you don't necessarily have to reveal to people. And I'll give you one example that I can think of from my life. So sometimes, when you have to interact with people, it's not something that differently wired people tend to seek out, but sometimes you do. And those interactions will all be different. Sometimes the interactions will go really well. But sometimes, you're always worried about whether or not you're making the appropriate amount of eye contact. Maybe you're concerned about how often you cross your arms together, or if you seem too reserved. And you have to sort of go from example to example to determine whether or not revealing your diagnosis would be important or expedient or whatever. So, for example, if you're just having a decent conversation with somebody, if you're noticing that they're smiling and you can sense enthusiasm in their voice, if there are certain social cues that you can pick up on, figure out what those are and figure out what those things are when you're speaking to different people. Make sure that these are things that you can pick up on. And if things are going relatively well, then it's not at all important for you to reveal your diagnosis, because ultimately, like I said, you just want to be like everybody else. You don't want it to be the most important thing about your identity. It's something that different groups of people have been trying to struggle for forever. Just not to be defined by their immutable characteristics. Race, whether it's a race or gender identity, it's not important. What's important is
Max, we have a caller. Is it too early to take calls?
Oh, no, it's fine. I just hold on a second. Let me just finish my point. Yeah, but there are also some other times where you might be a little bit concerned. Maybe you have a gut feeling that things aren't going that well, and you feel like, hey, maybe they might be put off by something about the way that I talk or the way that I'm looking at them. In times like that, you really do have to make a gut judgment. And in those times, I found that what works best for me is if I just say it like it's just a normal thing in the conversation. I don't make it like a big deal. So, for example, if I feel like, hey, I haven't looked at this person in the eye a whole lot, maybe my voice sounds a little bit monotone, I say, hey, by the way, I hope you're not put off by the fact that I don't look you in the eye. It's just I have high functioning autism. It's no big deal. It's just something I have a hard time controlling. And then when I've said that, they're like, oh, yeah, I totally understand. And what's odd is when I have talked to people and I brought that up, they usually say something, oh, I know so-and-so that has autism. Like, it's my brother's friend, or I have a family member. And, like, I totally understand. And then usually it's fine. There are other examples that I will get to in regards to like employers or your friends and family. Like John said, we do have a caller. Who do we have on the line, John?
Matthew Julio.
Matthew Julio. What's happening, Julio? Can we hear him?
Okay, he's joining, and here he is.
Oh, okay. Or are you just bringing him in?
Yep.
Matthew, you there, dog?
Is technology working?
Yes, yep. There he is. Hallelujah.
All right. I was secretly a little hopeful you wouldn't say my name, but that went out the window.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
No, that's fine. So, yeah, I'm actually very glad that you brought this up, because I'm a university student, and I just got over an incident where, because of my disability, we got into a big kerfuffle with the student housing. They were trying to place restrictions on me based upon my essentially an inability to accommodate. And I based off of the past Differently Wired podcast, you've mentioned a lot about how important it is to have a support structure in place and to find individuals who you can rely on to interact with. And my difficulty is finding any of those individuals and knowing how I can trust them to disclose anything.
That's a really neat question. What country are you in?
I'm in America.
Okay, there is an association called Autism Speaks. The American Autism.
Hold on a second, John. Are you familiar with some of Autism Speaks' practices?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to tell him, Matthew?
It will be highly. Sorry, Max. You can go ahead.
No, you go ahead, dude.
Well.
This is actually something that, so I had one person who I can develop short-term friendships, and one of those friends, he was very into researching, as am I, and we looked into Autism Speaks as a fun thing, well, fun-ish. They have some very large problems that have been associated with them in the past. It looks like they're trying to adapt it, but we've seen examples of the Judge Rottenberg Center, for example, which used electroshock therapy as a way of treating individuals with autism in an attempt to stop stimming.
Okay, let's turn away from that, because obviously it's a waste of time. I've got a disclosure guide from the Disability Alliance of BC, which is a province in Canada. It's one of the best I've seen. It is a legal guide for people with disabilities in BC. The exact legal practices wouldn't be the same, but it's a very thorough guide to how you conduct, when to disclose and what to disclose, and who to trust and how to trust. But Matthew, one of the key issues is that you said is that you don't know who to trust. And I understand that. So you need to find an ally you can trust. It might not be somebody in the organization, but somebody peripheral. You kind of need a support structure of people who are not as expert, but more trusting, or more trustable, I should say. You know what I'm getting at? So you need somebody to bounce ideas off of, someone to check with. If it's a professor or an instructor, if it is a staff member at your institution, something like that.
Yeah. Or like one thing I could suggest, John, when I was going through university, he was of a particularly great help to me when it came to advocating on my behalf and letting people know what the deal is in regards to how I function. So if you want to look into coaches in the U.S., they could certainly do stuff like that. Well, John, you know more about that than I do.
I do indeed. Which state are you in, Matthew?
My school is in Nevada.
Nice.
Oh, good, yeah. Okay, you can find a coach most easily by looking at the ADHD Coaches Organization. Now, that's a little odd because that's not the Asperger's Coaches Association, because I don't think there is one, but there may be. But the ADHD coaches usually coach people who are differently wired across a wide range of wirings. So in your case, if you're interested in talking to a coach, and you can do so for free, at least for a short time, you can go to this website, the ADHD Coaches Organization, ACO, and you can look at the coaches where they're located geographically. Why I'm suggesting geographically is they will have more knowledge of the local scene where your school is than I would, or a coach in New York, or Washington would. So they might even be connected to the student services group that you're talking to. They might, like, coaches will usually have relationships with the people who do abilities stuff and disability stuff at institutions. So they may already know some people. So it's not a bad idea to have a look at them under the geographic location where you are. I mean, coaches can talk to you and help you from anywhere, but it's a plus if they're nearby your school.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot more effective to talk to people in person about this sort of stuff than
it is too.
Well, hopefully, closer in the future that could be more of a reality. But right now, we do have to sort of do things over the computer. But obviously, thinking longer term.
Well, even now, you can take this question online to somebody who is local, and they will know somebody maybe who's local, or they'll know the structure. So even now, it's a good time to get the geographic. We have another person waiting to get on.
Sure. Yeah, we can bring him on in a second. Matthew, do you have anything else you wanted to bring up, dude?
No, thank you very much for the coaching advice. Yeah, I am, John, to address a couple of your points. I tried condulging in a professor. That was a horrible idea because the professor just made things miserable for me.
Has to be someone you trust, Matthew.
Yes, initially I did trust that professor.
Well,
anymore. Again, with the administrator, I did have an administrator I trusted, and then that went out the window. So I've just been trying to discover the
thing about having an advocate from outside, a coach type person or somebody like that, is that they don't have any reason to let you down later. There's no administrative structures. They're satisfying. So they will start in a position of advocating on your behalf.
Yeah. That becomes pretty much their sole interest. There's not anything else that the people at the school are totally concerned with. Yeah. Yeah. By the way, Matthew, if anytime you want to come back on and sort of talk more about this, so we can go into finer detail and maybe address things that we might not have addressed in this call, please call back next week. We're going to try and do this more because unlike past times when we've done call-in stuff, the technical details here seem to have been pretty sound, which is good.
Okay, I'll bring on our next guest. And
Matthew, thanks so much, dude. See you later.
In the meantime, I won't say her name. She can tell us if she wants to say her name.
Okay. Are you bringing her on now?
I am.
Okay. Okie dokie. Yeah, Elena. Oh no, wait, no, it was Emerald Queen that says the Autism Society is far better than Autism Speaks. Yeah, I absolutely agree. See, somebody actually gave me crap because I accidentally used an image of Autism Speaks in one of my Asperger's videos, and they're like, "Wait, are you endorsing Autism Speaks?" And it's like, "No, no, that was my bad." See, John, from what I understand, it's like there's the example that Matthew just gave, but also it just, from what I understand, Autism Speaks tends to treat autism as if it's something that's so completely foreign and something that uh, like it's more of a disability, and the way they treat it, it sort of otherizes people with autism. It's not
I
good.
wouldn't go too far into that detail. It's not our work to critique organizations, but if the organization has, dead flies around it, why not?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
won't bother.
yeah. Just in case people were wondering about that, but yeah, let's just get past that. Uh, I don't want to
Hello?
say your name. Hi, Janet.
You could say Jenny. It's fine. I don't care if people know my first name. It's okay.
Okay. Yeah, see, perfect example of the whole social cues thing not working well in my brain. Hi, Jenny. How do you do?
Yeah. So I was listening to the other audio thing and it was a little behind, so I was getting a little confused by the audio. But I'm still connected, right?
Mm-hmm. You're all
You
good.
are.
Okay.
You
Perfect.
should turn down the speaker on your machine.
I did.
Okie dokie.
Okay. So like my issue is basically when this whole COVID-19 thing started, the job I was at was considered non-essential, so I wasn't working. And then, I spoke to my boss and everything, and he's like, "Oh yeah, don't worry, you have a job to go back to." Well, they reopened without me, and when I messaged them, they said I have to go look for another job. I'm like, "Yeah, thanks for telling me."
Wow.
So my issue is that about disclosing when I'm trying to look for a job.
It's a good
Right.
issue.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, I can give you what I found has worked for me in the past when it comes to talking to employers. So generally, I think it's just best to, like, I don't like saying this, but I'm just saying what has worked for me. I found that what's best is that you try to not disclose it for as long as possible, because with a lot of jobs, you have sort of like that 90-day probationary period where they can fire you whenever they want, but then after that it becomes a lot more difficult. I found that it's
Hmm.
best to try and hold out for as long as you can in regards to not disclosing your diagnosis for those 90 days, and just put in the best effort that you can. And when you demonstrate to people that, hey, I really, really do care about this job, I really do care about keeping it, and I want to be the best employer that I can, employee that I can. And oftentimes, people that are on the spectrum or who are differently wired, I found, do actually care about putting in a good effort, but sometimes it's just their issues get in the way. Once you do that and the 90 days are up, the employer is going to be like, hey, we want to keep you. You're a good worker. And so when you explain to them, hey, I want to keep doing a good job for you, but in order to make sure that I continue to do this job well, I have to tell you about these one or two things. And it's no big deal. If I could just have these one or two small accommodations, I can continue to be the best employee that you have here. And I found that for the most part, that tends to be the case for most of the people that I've talked to when they've gone searching for jobs. And also,
Yeah, because the thing is, I know in the oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Well, I know, like in the past, when I would like even doing interviews and stuff like that. I remember, like maybe I made a mistake because there's this one place, and I ended up not really going for the job anyway for a different issue. But I disclosed it even during the interview, and the guy said something very interesting to me. He said, "I knew there was something off about you when I looked into your eyes," and I'm just like, "Can I keep it hidden for 90 days if it's that obvious?" It's like someone could tell by look. I'm like, my first thought is, what the hell did I do with my eyes? But then, but then, I know in the past when I've not disclosed, like for like as long as I could. I mean, there would always be issues at work with like in past jobs that I had, because the reason why, like I told, like you already know the issue I have looking for a job now. It's not like I was like fired for being a bad employee or anything.
Mhm.
Anyway, at a job I had years ago, um, issues would pop up every so often until I finally like disclosed, like, you know, and even then, people like supervisors mainly were like very like negative towards me. Like they just didn't know how to deal with it, so they would rather not deal with me. And you know, so part of me, you know, was thinking, you know, about exact like when to say something, or if it's that obvious by just looking at me, should I just say it right away? I mean, it's just I'm just
I'm
having
just
a hard
wondering.
time.
I'm just wondering what accommodations you would need at work to do your best work.
In your
Like, for
perfect
instance,
world.
Well,
yeah,
I
in a
think
perfect
in
situation.
oh, in a perfect world, I would, because a lot of the things that tend to bother me is um, a lot of people talking at once. I can never understand what's going on if there's more than one conversation going on. It's just very hard for me to follow.
Yeah.
Mm.
It ends up being just like noise to me. Like I know like even if someone's talking to me and I'm like watching a video or watching TV or something, I have to mute, you know, one of the someone, because I can't understand what's going on.
Hmm.
And I guess the other thing would just be the amount of people that I deal with, because I just get so drained dealing with different people every day. If I was just dealing with the same people and not have to deal with like doing like a register type of job in a store would not be very good for me, because you're dealing with so many different people every day. I mean,
Mm.
that type of thing would just mentally wear me out before the day is done.
So, what sort of efforts have you made at targeting exactly the right kind of workplace that would automatically suit you? So you're not going to
Well,
be, you know what?
what
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
one of the things that I've done is like the type of jobs I was going for. Like one of the things, like when I moved to Florida in the past couple of years, and I've been having more of a problem finding my niche here than where I used to live. Where I used to live, I was in production, and I did like manufacturing, and I did warehousing stuff. Like one of the things that I did was inventory management. I'd do cycle counts on things. So I'd be counting things. And then if things went missing, I'd find out why they went missing, usually because
Ah.
something was keyed wrong. So it was a very detailed whatever thing. And I'd love to be able, so I'm trying to find jobs that entail that type of thing that I like to do.
Hmm.
That sounds a little bit like what I do at my job. So, pretty cool.
I mean, I
So,
was always pretty
yeah.
good at it. So, I mean, that's why I'm just kind of hoping to find something like that where I am now. And I'm just having a little bit of difficulty.
Mm.
Well, I think it's wise that you've identified you need workplaces that are calm, and you need workplaces where the interactions with people are not overwhelming. I don't see you hanging out, you know, serving at McDonald's or something. This, you know, that would not
No.
work. Noisy
Right.
places, Max, like places like Costco and so on, where
Yeah.
there's a big pile of sensory input. This is not great. So,
I worked at Costco.
there, yeah, I know. So that's the first deal, is to find that niche, and there may be ways to do it that you haven't. I'm just thinking out loud. Is there ways that you can locate these kinds of jobs, and it's not obvious to the public? Like, so I don't know. What are the key words if you're looking up a big job, Indeed, something or another? What is the key word? Like,
Well, I've been looking up like inventory control and things like
yeah,
that,
Yeah.
because that's a lot of what I know how to do. But the thing is, the problem is that when you type that in, a lot of those jobs seem to require some sort of degree of some sort, and I was just doing that. I didn't get a degree. I was just doing that. So it's like I have the experience, but because I don't have this associate degree, nobody wants to look at me.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too put off by that. See, a lot of people that are actually in the workforce nowadays, they generally just ask for some sort of degree, but a lot of the times they really do care more so about your work experience. That's just what
Mm.
it's been like in my
I'm
experience.
getting an instinct here that I don't know. There may be somebody who does employment work who will help you target and identify opportunities that are not obvious.
Well, yeah, I
Some,
mean, I've actually contacted a few of those agencies that, help, you start off as a temporary, but I said I want to have something that's going to turn permanent. So that's what they're looking into for me. So they have their own clients and stuff like that. And like I did an interview earlier today where I disclosed my, diagnosis to her, and she actually was very, very nice about it.
Yeah.
And she's like,
yeah.
well, if you want to disclose that when you do your interviews, you can, but I'll keep this in mind when I'm trying to find jobs for you.
So she's really telling you you don't need to tell everybody this.
Yes, that's what it seemed like. And
That's what it
when I
seems like,
saw
yeah.
that this is what this episode was going to be about that you guys have on, I was like, I got to tune into this. I wanted to ask
Yeah.
a question, so here I am.
Good for you. I'm thinking the agencies is a really good way to go, but also I was thinking of the government-sponsored employment centers where they're like counselors who have the job descriptions in front of them, who have a deep knowledge of the industry, where you say, this is the kind of work I would like to do. Who has this kind of stuff available?
Yeah.
There may be
Yeah.
opportunities there, you know?
Yeah. They've encountered
I
people of all different backgrounds. They'll be able to help.
I probably could contact them again. I mean, right now, a lot of places were still closed and stuff like that, so I haven't been able to really see anybody. But I'm really thinking about, because I've been applying for things myself. But I mean, I'm really thinking about making a few more phone calls and stuff like that. And I think one of those types of places would probably be a really good place to call.
Another thought that crossed my mind is that the big job boards have, job descriptions where they'll email you alerts and so on. And I've noticed since the COVID business an incredible increase in online job opportunities.
Yeah.
So if you do work from home, if you're willing or interested in that, a lot of that issue that you have at the workplace is out of it because you can control your workspace entirely.
Well, that's very true. A lot of those seem to be like customer service phone call things, and I don't know what it is with me. It's like it's not like my hearing's bad or anything, but sometimes I have a hard time understanding people on the phone. I don't know
Oh.
whether it's just I don't know whether it's just the way that it comes in, but it always sounds like, I don't know, like even when I lower the volume and everything sounds like a reverb sometimes to me, and it just makes it hard to understand.
Yeah. You're sensitive to certain frequencies. I'm exactly the same way. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not crazy. Yay!
Don't worry about it.
Any technical things she can do, Max, to change the range?
Well, I'm sure there are certain programs that you can download for free online where if you're talking, hold on. If you're talking to them on the phone, just on a regular phone, I'm not sure there's any sort of thing that you can really do in terms of downloading an app. But if you wanted to send, if you're calling people online, through Skype or through Discord, there are certain things that you can do with the way that the audio comes through your computer, where you can change it so that it's coming out in a particular frequency. So that way you can get rid of all the fluctuations in the electronic sounds that come through a phone, and just make them sound a little bit more. The word isn't monotone, but you sort of know what I mean. It's just sort of even.
Right.
Also,
it
yeah.
doesn't peak in either direction.
Exactly. Yeah.
So sometimes having the right microphone will make a big difference to something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a few technical things you can test out with your friends or with folks.
Before we let you go, Jenna, I just want to remind you, of course, with everything that's going on in the world, try not to get too discouraged because everybody's having a really tough time. And just to try all those different things and maybe come back to us and let us know how things have gone.
Okay,
Yeah,
we have
thank
another
you so
caller
much for
waiting.
taking my call. So thank you so much, and I'll try to contact again sometime in the future.
Please do. And I love your avatar, by the way.
Oh, yes, I'm such a Persona nerd. I'm sorry.
I gotta start
It's
covering
beautiful.
those games. Anyways, have a good night.
Somebody's waiting on the line.
Okay. Hold on a second. Before we bring them in, John.
Sure.
I was just gonna ask if we could just quickly address something because I asked a friend of mine if I could bring up an issue that they've been having in regards to.
Absolutely.
And then we'll try and bring on the last caller. So I won't say who it is, but a member of our Discord server, I asked them if they could just quickly explain to me what problems they've been having and trying to get their family on board with their diagnosis. And from what I understand, it seems like his family views him as inherently broken. Those are the words that he used. It's not my interpretation. And basically what he's been trying to do is try to convince them that, hey, I'm not lying to you about this, but he doesn't seem to be making any headway. Is it right to sort of maybe suggest to him that, hey, what you should try to focus on is not so much in terms of trying to get their approval, but more so trying to take charge of your own life and take charge of your own happiness? And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Trying to convince people who are already convinced of something else is Sisyphean myth, rolling a rock up a hill every day of your life. It's actually it actually gives them reason to keep resisting what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it has the opposite effect. So I'm trying to convince you that this thing is true. I'm trying to convince you. I'm going to...
John, come back to the microphone, please. John?
Back to the microphone.
It's just like you're drifting away, like you're like a sailboat drifting away from shore. Like
I just drifted off to get a glass of water.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, when you move,
I'm still here.
Okay, sorry. What were you saying?
I was just saying that the idea of convincing somebody to change their mind when they've already shown you their mind is made up is a waste of time.
Yeah.
You may be able to demonstrate it by doing, Max, as you say, taking charge of what you do, defining, your path, and going ahead and achieving success the way you decide you need to. But trying to convince them, oh, please accept me as this, or please believe, no. That it sounds like it's a waste of time.
It's a path to madness, and you already spend too much energy on doing stuff like that. Can you imagine what would happen? And I know this guy; he's a really smart guy. Can you imagine what would happen if you spent all your mental energy towards trying to get yourself out of that situation where they keep putting you down for your strengths to make themselves feel better? Once you do that, you're unstoppable. I know you do.
Yeah, you got to change the direction of your energy.
Yeah. What do I say at the end of each of my Asperger's videos? You deserve to be happy. Take that to heart. It's actually true. Anyways, we only have a few minutes left for the last caller. Let's see if we can bring him on.
Okie dokie.
Please and thank you. By the way, guys, while we're bringing them on, make sure to hit that like button. It tells the YouTube algorithm that our content is worth watching and might get passed around to people that really need to listen to this sort of stuff. So, yeah, there's somebody you watching right now and only 50 likes. Fix that ratio. Okay. Should we say your name, dude?
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry?
I said that's fine.
Okay.
Yes.
Welcome, Austin. Are you from Austin, Texas? That's the only Austin I'm aware of.
No, but I am from the U.S.
Okay, right on. So what's going on, dude?
Not much. I actually just got a job recently.
Hey.
And so I guess the topic of disclosure kind of comes up somewhere when you get that job. When do I disclose? Should I even disclose?
Hey, Austin, sorry, before you tell us about your story, can you please just move a little bit closer to your mic? We're just having a hard time hearing you.
Yeah. That better?
Yeah, man.
All right. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
But I did want to give out like a little tip, I guess, when it comes to disclosure.
Yeah.
I prefer not to disclose right away. I would rather people know me before they know what autism is, because most people aren't usually informed. So I'm afraid, like, if I tell people too soon, they're gonna, as they learn about me, they're gonna think this is what autism is.
Yeah.
But if they know me beforehand and then I disclose later, their opinion of me doesn't change. They already know who I am. They just know that I'm an autistic individual. It just gives a name, but it doesn't change their opinion on me.
Yeah. It should be made like the least important thing about you, as I said before. Yeah, you should try to go about trying to make yourself, like, get people to focus on the parts about you that actually define who you are, and not like the immutable characteristics. And once you do that, like you said, once you mention the fact that you have autism right up front, for whatever reason, people tend to focus on that and not the other things, which is too bad. So yeah, there's absolute utility in what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely right. If you go and say, "I am a toothache," well, that's how people will interpret you. So it's you really want to know who you are first. Um, the thing is that they will interpret that first impression will be a lasting one. So it's very wise to do that. The only exception would be for those people who have a characteristic where they must be accommodated from the word go. If there's something that something that is very important to understand right away, or like the Auticon folks who look for autistic people. That's their workforce. And there are a number of organizations around the world now where they hire you because you're autistic. So obviously that's a different situation. But Austin, do you have a question for us?
Or did you just want to provide that little bit of advice?
Yeah.
No, I just kind of wanted to come on and give that tip of advice. It was funny, your last caller mentioned noticing right away, and I guess that's kind of been a challenge for me. So I did just start a job, and they've already noticed that I don't like to make eye contact. And so that's definitely something I can relate to with the last caller. I remember I apologized to somebody, and my boss was like, "Did you just apologize without looking at her?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not too fond of eye contact."
That's a very wise way to say it.
Yeah.
You didn't say, "I am autistic, I don't do eye contact. I'm not fond of eye contact." If, for instance, you go to a workplace and your senses are easily overwhelmed, and they say, "Where would you like to sit?" "Well, I'd like to sit over there in that corner where it's quiet because I work better in quiet." I haven't announced anything about who I am or what I am. And it's not strange for people to, as the last caller was talking about loud noises and noisy places. Well, some people prefer to work in quiet zones. That doesn't mean anything about you, except that's what you prefer. So in some cases, you don't need to disclose, even though you require a certain working condition that suits you better. So I think the way you said that thing about eye contact makes sense.
If I were in your situation, I probably would have been like, "Well, I can be sorry while not looking at somebody in the eye. I could be just as sorry,
Absolutely.
That is essentially what I said.
Yeah. Don't ever apologize for something that is somewhat out of your control. Even if it is in that particular moment, it's not like it's going to get fixed right away. So, like I said before, in regards to the employer thing, if you do encounter somebody who has a problem with the fact that you can't make eye contact, just say, "Hey, look, it's no big deal. I can still do an awesome job for you, regardless of whether or not I look you in the eye. Would you rather have a better employee that doesn't look you in the eye, or a subpar employee that looks you in the eye?"
Yeah.
For sure.
Time. I have to head off now, Max.
Jeez, it's already 7:50. I can't believe how fast that went.
Well, we had such interesting and wonderful guest speakers,
Yeah.
callers. I think it makes the show zing. I like it.
Absolutely, and thankfully, no technical issues, none that I could hear. So, guys,
except for me wandering off,
Well, it's okay. It's where did you say where are you living right now, John?
I'm living in Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada, the south coast of Canada.
Right.
So lovely little resort town.
Right, exactly. So you're near a body of water. Yeah, John films this on his boat, and sometimes his boat starts to float away from the mic. So, yeah, he's like, "Oh wait, that's happening again." All right. Anyways, thank you so much, John. I'll talk to you next week. Austin, thank you so much for coming on. And
no problem.
And guys, if at any time you want to, well, first of all, let us know if you liked how this went for this particular episode. If you'd like for us to do more call-in sections like this, and we'd love to bring you on if you do respond well to this. Before we go, I just want to remind you that we do have the after show again. If you can get access to that by supporting me on Subscribestar. Like I said, it's like Patreon. Just go to the link in the description box below if you'd like to join us for a future installment of the after show. We'll just be hanging out there for the next hour, and we'd love to talk to you. Also, just before you go, just want to remind you, make sure you hit that like button. When you do that, it tells the YouTube algorithm that our content is worth watching. And Yeah, thankfully it seems like the show's viewer count has been growing, and that's because you guys have been supporting the show in that way. So please keep doing that. Anyways, thank you so much again, guys. My name is Max, and until next time, just want to remind ya, stay yellow.